So today we're going to be talking about the Netflix miniseries Baby Reindeer. I believe it's still available to watch over there, but this was definitely an interesting one. There were quite a few people I found on TikTok suggesting giving this show a watch. This is a UK series that was released back in April of last year. There's only 7 episodes and audiences seem to really enjoy it as well. But this was definitely a thought-provoking show for me, so let's get into it. As always, I like to start off with the write-up, which says, when a struggling comedian deals with a female stalker whom he showed kindness to once, he's forced to face a dark, buried trauma. So main character Donnie opens a show at the police station trying to give a report, and he goes into the story. So he's working at a bar or pub in London where a woman comes in one day named Martha. She seems to be having a pretty rough time and claims she can't even afford to buy herself a drink. So Donnie takes pity on her and gives her a drink on the house and strikes up a conversation with her. In Donnie's mind, he's just being nice, but for Martha, this was pretty much a romance. She starts coming into the pub every day. She claims to have this job where she's working with high-profile clients, but yet she can't afford a drink at a pub, so it's not really making sense. Donnie starts getting a little annoyed, but he keeps his cool up until the point she shows up at one of his stand-up comedy shows. So it becomes pretty obvious at this point that this man is being stalked. Instead of freaking out, he just makes her the butt of his jokes, and the crowd is loving it. But this upsets Martha, and she starts making his life a living hell at the pub. But this man was not really helping his cause because he kept feeling bad and not really setting boundaries with her. He had even followed her home one time, and now she's thinking he's interested again. He was even out here buying this woman food. But anyways, regardless, this man was indeed being stalked, but then for a time she just kind of stopped showing up at the pub, and he actually starts to miss her. So after feeling a little lonely for a bit, we start to go into Donnie's backstory, where we find out that a few years before he'd actually moved from Edinburgh, Scotland to London in the hopes of becoming a stand-up comedian. But he's not really all that funny, like at all. But one day he meets this TV show writer at another pub named Darian, who starts coming to Donnie's small comedy shows that he was having at the bar he was working at, and he's giving Donnie a few pointers on how to make the show better, and it actually works for a little at first. So he starts promising Donnie he would get him writing gigs on a show that he was developing, and things are going great in Donnie's mind, but really and truly this man was just whispering sweet nothings into his ear, because out of nowhere he just kind of stops showing up and Donnie loses contact. So Donnie's feeling a little depressed and decides to enroll in an art school where he meets his girlfriend Keely. Things seem to be going okay, but he's still not really doing what he wants to be doing, which is writing and performing on stage doing his stand-up comedy. He moves in with Keely at her mom Liz's house, and then out of nowhere he gets a call from Darian to come over to his apartment to hang out. He goes over to Darian's house, they're smoking, taking substances, feeling really relaxed, but a little too relaxed in Donnie's case because this man basically can't move and then blacks out. He keeps coming over to Darian's house to do the same thing over and over again, but one time Donnie wakes up and catches Darian basically taking advantage of him, unfortunately. And Donnie is pretty much traumatized, but he doesn't say anything to anyone, but he's turning down Keely every time she tries to get intimate with him. But he won't tell her what's going on, so they eventually break up. But her mom Liz allows him to stay in the house. Never really heard that happening before, but hey, at least he had a place to stay. But now Donnie is questioning his sexuality, but he eventually meets a trans woman named Terry, starts enjoying her company, but then in present time, Martha starts coming back. She's harassing him with phone calls, coming back to the pub where he works, and even at Liz's house when they're having a party. But of course, Liz doesn't know that Martha is Donnie's stalker. She even attacks Terry, and they eventually stop seeing each other. He moves out on his own, and nothing seems to be going well. Eventually, Donnie breaks down during a pretty big comedy show and just word vomits for a good while, and someone in the crowd was actually recording everything. The crowd doesn't really say anything, but the video ends up going viral, and he starts getting all these bookings, and people are relating to his story. Martha had even taken a break from the harassment, but then the calls started back up again, and she was threatening his parents now. So he goes back to Edinburgh, not only to explain the video of him that's going viral, but also the stalker situation. He tries to go to the police, but he doesn't really have any solid proof of the harassment. So eventually, after months of listening to her rambling on in these voicemails, he finally found something that would put her away for a few years when she makes a threat on his life. She gets arrested and charged, but now Donnie is saying he's lonely again. So what does he do? He goes back to Darian. I know, that's not what you were probably expecting, but yeah, he goes back to the person that preyed on him at his lowest. But let's get into what I liked about the show. Because even though the ending really frustrated me, I think that the route it took in terms of the overall story is pretty interesting, and in some cases kind of unexpected. Usually you have the stalker that's being super annoying and invasive and even making your life hell, but in this case, it's almost like Donnie was enjoying the company. Like, it wasn't really stalking to him entirely when she was showing up at the bar to ask him about his day and support his dreams of being a comedian. But I almost forgot, when she had gone quiet the first time, he had actually found her and they got intimate with each other. Like, what? It was honestly just a lot about this that was confusing, but in a semi-frustrating but also thought-provoking way, because you really are trying to figure out what's going on in Donnie's head. You know, he has these little mini inner monologue moments throughout the show, but you still are trying to figure out why his thoughts are leaning in the direction that they're leaning. But I think that he's just showing us as the audience how strange and complicated humans can be. But you guys can let me know your thoughts on this series. If you watched it, I would hope you probably did before I pretty much spilled the beans on this entire thing. I mean, it was a recap. I didn't go into too much detail, but I did definitely reveal a lot about the plot. So hopefully you would have watched it beforehand. But regardless, you can let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'll catch you all in the next one.